Okay, today I sat down with Tim Van Milligan from Apogee Components. We had a fun conversation about the history of his company, but also Tim shared some tips to being successful at TARC. I present to you my conversation with Tim Van Milligan. Hey everyone, Paul Kaup. I'm here today with Mr. Tim Van Milligan at Apogee Components here in Colorado Springs. Anyway, as most of you know, I'm a Southwest pilot. When I get out on the road, I try to meet people that I have associations with, and Tim happens to be one of those people. So Tim, let's just start off. Tell me a little bit about Apogee Components and how you got here.
Okay, so yeah, as Paul said, my name is Tim. I started out as an aeronautical engineer. I started at the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. That was in 1991. And I worked there for 3 years launching big rockets into space. And then in 1993, it was in 1991 that I moved here to Colorado. I started working for Estes Industries, which is the big company in the model rocket industry. But then I worked there for 3 years, and I got laid off. And so what was I going to do next? Well, I heard about this company called Apogee Components, and he was actually run down in Arizona, in Phoenix. And that was Ed LaCroix. And I started working with Ed, and then we got to a point where he wanted to get out, and he said, "Tim, do you want to buy the company?" So I said, "Sure." So I bought the company. And so I've been running Apogee ever since. And it started out small. It started out in a bedroom. And then it slowly grew over the years, and that was, started in 1994, and now it's 2023, so, long time.
Yes, yes.
So now we got a nice big facility here in Colorado Springs. We're located right on the Interstate 25. If you're ever in Colorado Springs, you're welcome to come. And we have, 10 people that work here, so we're getting bigger, and we're slowly outgrowing this facility too. So in the back of my mind, thinking about where are we going to be next. So that's kind of where we are.
Yes, yes. Well, Tim gave me a brief tour before we got together here, and super impressive facility. Quite a display of all the model rockets that they carry up front. And not only do they display, but they also fly those rockets up front. One of the things that's really cool is, if anybody in the hobby industry knows, it's really, really hard to make it, especially to where Tim is here. So Tim has done a great job, a fantastic job introducing people for many years to model rocketry and the application in STEM with model rocketry. So my hat's off to Tim, because he's done a fantastic job. His newsletters, the videos, the how-to videos, the informational videos, just absolutely fantastic. He is one of my reference sources for model rocketry for sure. So anyway, with that said, we're in the middle, or just started TARC. TARC registrations have started. I think I just saw from National Association of Rocketry. They're up to 500 teams registered already. I happen to coach TARC every year, and Mr. Milligan supplies the parts and pieces that we need to our rocketry teams. Tim, what advice do you have for TARC teams?
Get started early. The earlier you start, the better you do. A lot of teams, they'll wait until springtime to get started, and by then it's actually a little bit too late, because you have to take into account the time available that the students have for designing their own rockets, flying their own rockets. They have to learn. You can't do the work for them. So they need to experiment, and that process of experimentation under that little time window that they have, it goes by really quick. I also coached a team, my daughter's team, several years ago, and yeah, I understand the time constraints that they have, and you have to take that into account. You got to let them experiment. The first thing I do is give them a kit to build. Just get them out and launch a rocket so that they know what to expect when they launch a rocket. And it's going to give them that little bit of data that they need to start to say, well, wow, that rocket went really high, but did it go high enough? And so now they have to start thinking like a little engineer, what they're going to do next to make it, perform that the way they want it to.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so starting early is definitely a key. You have software, RockSim. Give us some advice on using RockSim.
Well, we have a free trial version, so I would recommend you download that. It runs for 30 days. It only has one limitation, and that is that it stops the rocket right at apogee. So you won't get a total flight time, but at least you'll be able to see how high the rocket is going and optimize for that. So getting started is download. We have a whole library of videos, and I basically walk people through like the first thing you do when you open up a design. And it's kind of like in rocketry. You want to get, your first experience is to get the rocket in the air as quickly as possible. So open up an existing design. And there's hundreds of designs that come with the software. So open one up. The video shows you how to put a rocket motor in there and how to push the launch button to get it launched. And then once you have it launched, then you can kind of get the feel of what the software will do for you, all the data that it's going to provide. And then from then, start experimenting with just, the design that you open. Just start changing things. Don't be afraid to change things. Change the size of the fins, change the sweep angle, change the location, slide it along the tube. You can do that. There's a little slider bars. We tried to make it very visual. So when you slide the slider bar for the location of the fins move in real time, and they're showing you the center of pressure and the center of gravity in real time so you can see if the rocket's going to be stable. Don't be afraid to experiment. You're not going to break it. And if you do, if you save the design wrong, well, you can open up a different design and play with that one as well. And then after that, then start designing your first rocket. And when we design a rocket, we start at the top, start at the nose cone, and then just kind of work downwards. And there is a little bit of a learning curve. And the hardest part of the learning curve is just the names of the parts. Because you just, if you go into the parts databases, you'll see things that are named like BT60. So what does that mean? Well, that's the hard part, is just figuring out the naming nomenclature. But once you get over that, then things start picking up pretty quick. And once you get, the TARC has specific rules for diameters and lengths. And so once you get those dialed in, basically your design is just tweaking at that point. So you're just going to change things just slightly to try to get that performance to where you will need it.
Yep. One of the ways that we found is we'll build the kids will build the TARC rocket in RockSim, and then we'll build it in the shop, we'll build the replica, and then we'll go out and test fire it. So let's say on RockSim it says the rocket will go to 850 feet based on how we designed it and with that certain motor in there. Right. Then we'll go out and fly it with that motor, and we'll actually we'll install the altimeter, we'll go fly it, and we go to 790 feet. So what we'll do is we'll go back into RockSim and we'll adjust our coefficient of drag, right, so that the coefficient of drag now, the rocket will go in RockSim now to 790 feet. So we find we always have to tweak, right, the coefficient of drag, because the computer simulation is a perfectly designed model rocket, right, in the computer. But when the kids go and build in the shop and they start adding their glue and their epoxy and their paint, the coefficient of drag is not going to be exactly the same as RockSim. So that's been one of the things that we found that's been useful with the software. There was another point I wanted to make about that. Maybe it'll come back to me. But anyway, that's one of the things that we do is adjust that. The coefficient of drag seems to be the biggest thing to have to adjust.
It always is, because it's the hardest thing to figure out. Coefficient of drag is, we treat it like it's a static number. in actuality, in real life, it's actually very dynamic. It depends on the shape of the rocket, the speed of the rocket, the angle of attack of the rocket, the weather conditions. So we kind of have to normalize that into a single number. And so RockSim is trying to figure out all this, but it's not perfect in predicting that coefficient of drag because it can't.
Yes.
But so you have to be able to and be willing to tweak that number, and you can override it. This is the one, like you're saying, the one thing you have to do is to change that so that it does match your actual flight. And at that point, once it matches the actual flight, the next flight is going to be a lot more accurate because you're dialing it in. Yep,
exactly. Let's see. I don't think any more questions about TARC, high power rocketry. Are you level 3?
Yeah, I'm level 3.
Level 3 certified. I'm level 2 certified. One of the things I really enjoy is I take the kids that have experienced TARC, the high school students, and we go out and do their junior high power rocketry. We happen to enjoy one of the kits. It's the what is the little bit cheaper end level 2 kit that you saw on your or level 1 kit that you saw on your website?
So the Zephyr?
No, not the Zephyr. Oh, I forget which one that is. It's a lock. It's a lock precision model.
We sell several lock kits. I don't.
Anyway, just let the kids know and the teachers know. For kids that are going to attempt their level 1 junior high power rocketry certification, what do you got for them?
What I recommend is we have a kit called the Zephyr. And this is the one that I recommend because it has several features that will get to success quicker than other ways that might be cheaper. For us, it's about success because failure is very expensive. Because if you fail your level 1, you're going to have to do it again. And so now it's going to cost you twice as much. And so I'd rather spend just a little bit on the front end to assure success. So I like the Zephyr. It's a 4-inch diameter kit. And so 4 inches is a nice size because they don't go so high. So you can buy cheaper kits that will allow you to go level 1, but they're going to go so high because they're smaller. They can make smaller rockets cheaper than a bigger rocket.
That's the high-tech kit I was talking about. Yeah, that's the one that if you don't put the right size motor in, it'll go 4,000 or 5,000 feet on you.
And you can't see the rocket, especially if you're in an area where there's high humidity or dust in the air. They could just disappear on you. And then once you can't see them, you're going to lose it. And if you lose it, you fail.
Yeah.
You got to get it back so you can prove that the rocket has survived. So a 4-inch diameter rocket is that nice sweet spot where it's not going to go so high on you that you're going to lose it. It also has through-the-wall fins, so it's nice and robust. It's durable, so it can take a lot of abuse without breaking, because that's the key. You got to get it back without breaking it. It's got to be in a condition where it can be flown again without any modification.
Yes.
So that's why we like the Zephyr. That's the one we're probably going to recommend for a long time, even though we're coming out with a lot of other rockets that can fly with H motors, but they're just going to go so much higher. And we want you to be successful. We don't want you to lose your rocket on that first time out. Just once you get success, go for it. Go do those small ones. They're a blast.
Yes.
They go really high. They go really fast. They're impressive. But the success rate on those is a lot lower, unfortunately.
Yes. All right. Well, I think that's all I got for Tim. We'll be using this video in our teacher professional development class. I appreciate the time today, Tim. Really good to meet you in person.
All right. Thank you all for coming and visiting. If you want to come to Apogee, you're always welcome. We're here from about 9 in the morning to about 4:30 in the afternoon on weekdays. And we accept guests all the time. And we give everybody a tour so you can see what it's like to work here at Apogee. You can look at our shop. And it's like a candy store, so I got to warn you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's non-fattening.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Tim.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, good talking to you.